This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our studio in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to give us a call, 1-877-528-8255. That is to the broadcast center of the Talkstar Radio Network in Titusville, Florida. If you'd like to give us a call here at the X-Zone Studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. Eastern until 5 p.m. Eastern, our toll-free number is 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@talkstarradio.com, on MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com. Our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. As you know, X-Zone Nation, we've been talking quite a bit lately about December 21st, 2012, and there's a new movie that is coming out about that date. And joining me this hour is E.P. Grondine, Ed Grondine, and I are going to be discussing not only the 2012 movie, we're going to be talking about what's new at NASA, Comet Impact, and we're also going to be talking about Atlantis. That's this hour here in the X-Zone, and joining me now is Ed Grondine. Ed, thanks very much for joining us tonight, and tell me, what's your first impression of the new 2012 movie that's coming out on November 13th?
Well, it's going to be a great movie because they got great special effects. The problem is that shifts of the Earth's crust do not happen. A little minor problem with that. Just like the crust didn't shift in the year 2000. We looked at the physics of this in regards to the largest comet and asteroid impacts, and what they found was that the force required for a crustal shift of the Earth would be sufficient to fracture the Earth into asteroids.
Wow. So if this was to happen where the crust is shifting, we would be in one heck of a mess.
There wouldn't be any. The crust can't shift. If there's sufficient force to shift the crust, then the planet fractures.
So I guess what we're saying is that sensationalism is the key word in this new 2012 movie.
Exactly. But actually, they're tapping into a long stream of occult lore.
Oh.
It's quite fascinating how this actually came about. I'll go into the background on this. What happened was that we lost our comet impact. Our European comet impact lore was lost. The Roman government suppressed the Etruscan memories of this, and the Roman Catholic Church was promoting a Pythagorean worldview, so they suppressed the works of the Greek astronomers. Also, the religions of the Druids and other religions who held the impact memories was suppressed as well. Europe wasn't hit except for at Bazaz, which occurred in 580 A.D., and it was Pelagian heretics who were hit. Where the stuff started off at was with a German classical scholar named Johann Radloff, and he wrote a pamphlet. He was trying to find an explanation for asteroids and comets, and he thought that the parent body of the asteroids had fractured at the time of Noah's flood, and it caused a pole shift. And he's published a book on this in about 1823. This was picked up on by Samson Arnold McKay, who was working with the Order of Luxor with Madame Blavatsky as a theosophist.
Oh, yeah, right, yes.
Pardon?
I remember her very well, and there's been a lot talked about.
Exactly. And she hung around with the Augustus and Alice Laplangian, who were looking for a reason for the end of Atlantis. And the pole shifts were crustal shifts were an acceptable theory at that time.
All right, Ed, stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. This is going to be one very interesting hour. Exonation, Ed Grondine is my special guest, and his website is manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. That's manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. Ed Grondine and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue our investigation into the year 2012 here on the Talkstar Radio Network in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone on Talkstar. My special guest this hour is Ed Grondine. His website is www.manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. That's manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. All right, Ed, let's go back a little bit and talk about the sensationalistic aspect behind the year 2012, December the 21st. And why do you think so many people around the world are looking towards doom and gloom instead of saying, you know what, this may be nothing but a bunch of bunk?
Well, generally there's causes for fears in our life. We have the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
We have the economic problems that everybody faces. Also, I think we have a kind of a racial memory of impact events, catastrophic impact events. There's these holes in our history that just aren't explained.
Right.
And so people are saying, what happened? And that fear is there, and then people offer explanations.
What do you think is going to happen on December the 21st, 2012?
Absolutely nothing. The people that are doing this will have big parties and go to the bank. That's about it.
Sensationalism leads, and sensationalism certainly does sell. And where, if any place, would the Mayans have received any of the information that the proponents of the 2012 scenario are prophesying? For example, where did the Mayans get the knowledge of astronomy that they apparently had?
Well, that's a good question. There's some trans-Pacific contact. Apparently, there's some researchers think that the calendars are similar to those of Southeast Asia. So taking canoes brought across. It's indigenous to a certain degree. I got to say, the Mayan themselves in this movie, one of the things is that it starts off with Mayan people killing themselves, and today's Maya, think this is a joke, and they're deeply offended by the European exploitation of their culture. If you go to New Age frauds and plastic shamans, you can see some of the Mayan reaction to this stuff that's coming down. I'd like to pick it back up with what goes on with the industry here that we have. Blavatsky got together with Augustus and Alice LaPlongeon in New York City, and at that point, religions with a belief in reincarnation were tied into the idea of a crustal shift. So that religious belief is exploited. There's many people that believe in reincarnation, and they offer them some bad science along with that. It specifically went from New York and Augustus and Alice LaPlongeon, the Theosophists, Blavatsky's groups, the Rosicrucians, James Churchward, and then there was a group out at Mount Shasta, which was Lillian Bentz, her follower, Bayer T. Spalding, then Howard John Zicko, Robert D. Stell, and that was stolen by a cult leader named Richard Kieninger. And his business partner, David Hatcher Childress, with Adventures Unlimited Press, then continued that on out. There is actually an entire mailing list ring that goes out from Adventures Unlimited Press, going to Ancient American Magazine, to Nexus, Atlantis Rising. And so this is generally promoted through this mailing list operation.
So basically we're looking at expert marketing?
Very much so. Very much so. Essentially, Theosophist belief systems marketed through a computerized mailing list operation.
All right. So the movie 2012, I believe that it's going to make good bucks at the box office. The new movie that is out, Paranormal Activity, is number 2. On its first day, it cleared $16 million. We also have, CE4, Alien Abductions, coming out, and we also have Goat Whisperers that is coming out, which is about remote viewing. Why do you think, Ed, that so many people in this day and age are looking to these movies for some enlightenment?
Well, I think you have to separate the 2012 from the other movies here. I mean, 2012 will have great special effects, and it'll be a thrill a minute. People do have experiences that cause them to believe in a reincarnation. People have paranormal experiences. People have experiences of alien abduction. And these are certainly fascinating. I mean, it's certainly fascinating to contemplate if we are being visited by intelligent beings from another planet, for example. And actually, as to man's own psychic power, I mean, many people have had psychic experiences of one sort or another. And you try and find some kind of framework to put them within and you also want to talk about them and share them. You're not crazy. You've actually had this experience, and they share, and other people are fascinated by it.
So, what do you think the general reaction of the public is going to be come December the 1st, 2012? And now we're going to be looking at 2 years, 3 years worth of hype going into this date. What do you think they're going to do when they wake up December the 22nd, 2012, and the world isn't destroyed? It's going to be the same world, maybe with a new awareness and a new awakening, but still, it's not the end of the world. How do you think the public is going to react to the prophets and to those who have been selling them a bill of goods about the world coming to an end?
Well, so far they've gotten away with it without, and never been called to account. The people that make people afraid and then sell them their fears. Then there's been nobody to call them down on it. And what the Mayan daykeepers did talk about was the return of the Mayan people to dignity. I'd like to mention also that we are going to have Comet Schwarzmann-Wachmann 3 coming through the inner solar system in 2011, and this is going to be used to make people afraid as well. It's going to be on the other side of the solar system on that pass. 2022, we have some problems. If we get hit by fragments like we've got hit before, we could have up to a 5-kiloton blast. There's several of them someplace on the surface of the Earth in the year 2022, and that's a real worry. It's not a made-up one.
2022. Tell us more about that date.
Well, Schwarzmann-Wachmann 3 is a short-period comet. It'll be coming through the inner solar system. Came through in 2006. It'll come through in 2011. It'll come through in 2017. But those passes have been pretty far away from us. 2022, we're going to be in the midst of a 6.8 million kilometer long debris chain. In a 30-meter dead chunk of comet, it will cause a 5-kiloton blast, and they have. If two of the chunks stick together, you're looking up to 15 megatons, something like we had at Tunguska. So it's quite worrisome right now.
Earlier today, you and I were talking about the new NASA. We were talking about the 2012 movie, Comet Impact, and our conversation led us to Atlantis. Now, what is the connection between Atlantis and what we're seeing these days?
Well, there was a impact mega-tsunami in the Atlantic Ocean sometime around 1000 BC, about 1050 BC. All that we have right now are radiocarbon dates. The Mayan dates are not well understood, not well read yet. So we don't have like an exact day from the Mayan hieroglyphic writings. They're still being read. We do have geological samples coming in from the Yucatan, U.S. Geological Survey Corps, the Beaumont site in North Carolina. Dallas Abbott's been doing work on the Hudson River. So we know there was an impact mega-tsunami that occurred about 1050, which was about the time of the Sea People's invasions of Europe. Now, the Greeks were working as mercenaries for the Egyptians to counter the invasion of the Sea Peoples. They had a common enemy. What happened was that Plato took Solon's tales and combined them. He combined it with memories of the Minoans and also memories of the Holocene start impacts. That's why everything is 10,000 years ago. We know the invasions of the Sea Peoples are right around the period of 1050. We are BC, and we also know they came to an abrupt end. What probably brought them to an abrupt end was the Great Atlantic Impact Mega-Tsunami hitting in Europe as well as hitting in North America. We also, it's very interesting, I'd like to mention this, we see an end of the copper trade, the copper mining up on Lake Superior about this.
You and I have to take a commercial break, but a lot of people do not realize that the Egyptians and the central Mediterranean countries were actually trading with North America for copper way before Columbus was ever said to discover North America. Stand by, Ed. You and I will be right back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues on the Talkstar Radio Network. If you'd like to give us a call, 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free. And you can always join us here at our X Zone studios from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Monday through Friday by calling 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@talkstarradio.com, on MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com, and our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. My name is Rob McConnell. Ed Grondine is my special guest. Man and Impacts in the Americas.blogspot.com. And Ed and I will be back on the other side of this break with the news right here on Talkstar.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. Ed Grondine's my very special guest. His website is manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. That's manandimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. And Ed, you and I were just starting to talk about trading, the copper trade, going back way before Christopher Columbus, before the Vikings, and even before the Irish monks. And why do you think, Ed, that in school today, kids are still being taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America?
I don't know. I really couldn't come up with an explanation for it. I mean, the Native Americans are really explicit about European visitors in their oral histories, which are in my book. They set it out. We know that there is European contact because we have ex-DNA going back to 8,350 BC from Europe to the Americas. And, these people wouldn't have gone the other direction with something valuable like pure copper is very unlikely. And a matter of fact, the peoples remember them taking the copper. Their sites on the copper trade are all there. And again, set out in my book, there's some sites in the copper trade and their routes carrying it to the Atlantic, which I couldn't mention in my book because they aren't protected, and so I couldn't set them out. I'd like to mention that there's two sites on the Atlantic that I'd like to take a look at on the Atlantic Ocean, and it gets cold here in Illinois, so if Clive Cussler's listening, I think we could have a great time.
Now, what happened to the copper trade? Why did it cease?
Well, when the Great Atlantic Impact Mega-Tsunami occurred, the trading fleets were pretty well wiped out. And you can find the ships of Tarshish being destroyed in the Bible, in the Old Testament. And then on this side, it's the same thing. I mean, you have 2 to 3 feet depending upon where you're at, up to 20 feet in Central America of marine sediments. So these people are just washed off the face of the earth. There's nobody left.
So all these records were put on hold, and why hasn't the educational community started teaching this instead of just neglecting it?
Well, Native American traditions, and I'm speaking in the sense of oral histories here, not ceremonies, are just generally dismissed as nonsense. The Europeans came over, our European ancestors came over and took the land. So they just dismissed the Native American histories because they would tell them that we were here from forever, for 14,000 years or so, and they just threw out those histories entirely. They couldn't believe the people that they were conquering were the same people that built the mounds and that had advanced cultures.
You mentioned the mounds. I know there's great serpent mounds in Ohio. There are serpent mounds at Serpent Mounds Provincial Park here in Ontario. What was the significance to these mounds?
Well, actually, they're still trying to work it out. We know that Serpent Mound in Ohio was improved at the appearance of Cayley's Comet. It also seems to have been artifacts. The excavations were very poor. They were done years ago for modern radiocarbon dating. That it started off with Comet Encke about 1050 BC. So we have some artifact from that. At the time, Serpent Mound was actually on the uplift of the central uplift of an impact crater, and when the trees were down, it would have had a spectacular view of the sky from horizon to horizon, unobstructed.
So it seems that the Native Americans and Native Canadians, as well as people like the Mayans and the Egyptians, spent a lot of time looking into the sky.
Well, absolutely. I mean, these people were navigators as well. People forget that Native Americans had dugout canoes that were ocean-going, and the Egyptian sea trade is quite well known. I mean, their sails to India and to Africa are quite well known down from the east coast of Africa. And when you're at sea at night, you use celestial navigation. These folks had advanced astronomy that they used. Man's first boats are about 60,000 BC. So you have a fairly advanced astronomy in place from that point on.
But where did the first knowledge of astronomy come from? Like today we need telescopes in order to study astronomy. The ancients, they didn't have telescopes, did they?
It was naked eye astronomy that they did. They had naked eye astronomy, and they usually passed on the information via what we call myths, but they were actually instructional tales relating to different constellations.
1-877-528-8255 is toll free. Our special guest is Ed Grondine. His website, Man and Impacts in the Americas.blogspot.com. We started talking about the 2012 movie that's coming out on November the 13th. We've talked about Comet Impact. We've talked about Atlantis. We've talked about the copper trade. Let's bring ourselves back up to the year 2009. With all the changes in government, with all the funding revisions, how is this affecting NASA and our future space exploration?
Well, it's actually going very well, despite what you might read. It's pretty clear from the Ares 1 test failure that the Ares 1 is not a very well-designed rocket. The administrator Bolin, NASA Administrator Bolin, has ordered a 2-month study for looking at the direct launcher, which is pretty good. It's going to save a lot of jobs, be a lot cheaper than the Ares 1 and the Ares Spot, but we're talking anywhere from $10 billion to $50 billion cheaper, and it's all doable right now. As far as impacts go, the George Brown Jr. Amendment is still law here in the U.S., and Administrator Bolden is going to carry it out. The Congress has authorized 2 reports one from the NRC, another from the National Academy of Sciences, and they'll be making their recommendations shortly. So I guess that's where it stands. It's actually looking pretty good. I think we're going to get direct, and I think we're going to get back out into space here big time soon. ISS is continuing well, and that cooperation is continuing excellently.
Tell me, why is it so important that we have to return to the moon?
I think, probably CAPS is probably the real reason, the Common Asteroid Protection System. You can build some large telescopes and radar on the moon that will give you excellent warning of any impact or heading in the Earth's direction. And given the earlier cost of these things, and the amount of human destruction that these impacts have caused, that's probably a very prudent investment. If you look at China, their national symbol is a dragon. Their historical memories go back to the comet impacts that killed the mammoth. That's where the dragon first appears as the Chinese national symbol. Their first emperor was killed in an impact event. Their entire trading fleet was destroyed in an impact mega-tsunami, I think about 1431 is generally given the date for it, about that period in time. And that left them open to foreign conquest. So these things are very dangerous, and we'll need the technology to deal with the next one that does come in. If we have a chunk of Schwarzman Walkman 3 headed our way, we want to have something to get out there and get it taken care of before it gets in here. We don't want a 15 megaton blast going off someplace on the surface of the Earth.
Not if we can help it, at least.
Now, you were asking me earlier about the ancient astronomy.
Welcome to Virtual DJ Studio from Next Generation Software.
I wanted to mention that they had one of the reasons for the development of astronomy, besides celestial navigation from 60,000, was that when the comet fragments hit in North America, the effects of this were felt globally. I mean, these fragments were watched coming in. So you had an emphasis in astronomy that you see developing around the world. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, I think, is a perfect example of this.
Are more and more people taking up an interest in astronomy as well as astronomical history in order to try and make sense of what's going to happen in the future, Ed?
Well, what we're seeing in the meteorite market is a lot of folks are enjoying collecting meteorites, little bits and pieces of stuff from space. In the astronomy, we have automated telescopes that make it very easy to look at the planets and different star systems, and it's a lot of fun. You know, before it was a whole lot more difficult for the individual to do that. It's still very difficult actually to do naked eye astronomy. It's a knack some people have.
Why did you decide to further your interest in astronomy with what's going on at NASA, Atlantis, and basically history?
Well, what happened was I was writing on the Soviet and Chinese space programs, and just was doing op-ed pieces and picked up on the impact story at the time of the catastrophe movie, Meteorite, I think it was. And I stumbled into the work of the European scientists who were working through recent impact events, and I realized that NASA didn't quite understand what a severe problem this really was. This is also an incredibly useful tool for historical research. It just fills in so many holes. You know, we know what happened to the peoples living on the East Coast. We know what happened to the Olmec. They were hit by an impact mega-tsunami. You know, now we know what happened to the mammoth. They're killed off by impact, comet impact. You know, it's just solving a number of historical mysteries here. We know why they're spending so much money building structures like Stonehenge.
Did we ever
Why?
have we ever discovered what the true meaning or the true purpose of Stonehenge was?
Well, the astronomical alignments of that are fairly well known. The building periods occur exactly when we've had impacts from Comet Encke, where we had, in the last 5,000 years, you can time the building phases of Stonehenge with climate and impact effects from Comet Encke.
What other locations around the world like Stonehenge are there? For example, I know that the Great Pyramid at Giza is astronomically...
Baja.
Baja?
Very much aligned, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other locations are there, to your knowledge?
Well, there's so many I can't. There's so many. I can't think. To pick up one is tough. I mean, let me mention Newark here in the United States.
I have a call back for 866 negative K, nothing further, just
In over 36 years in law enforcement, I've learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, extraterrestrials, and UFOs, how we gather that evidence of their existence, preserve that same evidence, and present it to a court of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Come with me on a journey that seeks to prove with undisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Join me, Larry Lawson, host of the Paranormal Stakeout, coming to the X Zone Broadcast Network. Check out the broadcast schedule for Paranormal Stakeout with yours truly, Larry Lawson, at www.xzbn.net. For more information about me, my travels, and my team, check out our website at www.paranormalfbi.com or join us on Facebook at Florida Bureau of Paranormal.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Ed Grondine is our special guest for this hour. His website is www.mananimpactsintheamericas.blogspot.com. And Ed, how would you like to wrap up this hour?
Rob, I'll mention a few of the more of the astronomical sites here in the Americas. You have the group in the Andes that are astronomically aligned. There's Palenque, Casa Grande. One of my favorites is at Wupatki, outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. There's a beautiful observatory there. And I think finally I'd like to offer your listeners a special deal on my book. If they'll send me an email at epgrondine@yahoo.com, and mention that you heard me on the Rob McConnell show, and it'll be $20 plus shipping to wherever you are. And please, in your message, if you have Native American heritage, be sure and mention that to me.
Ed, as always, it's great having you on the show.
Rob, it's always great to talk with you.
You know, I'm just thinking of the movie 2012 that's coming out, and I don't know. I really hope that people don't take it too serious.
Well, it's strange if you look at the advertising budget for that versus what's spent on actually trying to find stuff coming towards the Earth. It's just the budgets just aren't comparable. I mean, at all. It's kind of a misappropriation of money. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the movie, but it's going to have great special effects. But I just hope people. All I got to say is don't drink the Kool-Aid and put the scissors away.
Once again, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you and promote your book one more time.
Okay, just send me an email, epgrondine@yahoo.com, and or you can see that at my blog spot. It's out there to give you kind of an idea of everything that's in it, and that's the deal.
Ed, take care of yourself. We look forward to the next time when you and I visit here in the X Zone. So until then, keep your eyes to the sky, my friend.
Rob, always a pleasure, and I always do.
All right, take care, Ed. Ed Grondine. His blog spot, Mayan Impacts in the Americas.blogspot.com. And still to come on tonight's show, you know what? There is nothing more to come on tonight's show because this is the very last segment. I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking each and every one of you for allowing us to be part of your day or night, no matter where you are on this great big world of ours. To my wife and senior producer, the lovely Laura Rogers, thank you, sweetie, for all your help. And to you, the X Zone Nation, thank you for allowing us to be part of your day or night, no matter where you are on this great big planet. So until tomorrow night, as once again you and I cross the time-space continuum to this place that we call the X Zone. Always, X Zone Nation, take care of each other. And if you've got a child at home, give them a hug, give them a kiss. Let them know they are loved, because the children of today are truly the leaders of tomorrow. And once again, next time you go outside, always keep your eyes to the sky and your